to Conversations About Bookbinding from Book Forge in Erie, Pennsylvania. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into bookbinding tools.
Okay.
And this is a topic that's been carefully curated by Edward Patrick Krantz of Book Forge.
Yeah.
We're going to be focusing on two main things today. One is the essential tools for beginners.
Sure.
And then we're going to take a little trip back in time
Okay.
to explore historical bookbinding equipment.
That sounds great. It's amazing to me how much of that historical equipment is still in use today.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, the techniques and the tools that have been passed down,
Yeah.
so many of them are still relevant today and are still the best way to do things.
That's right. So whether you're just starting out or you've been binding books for years, there's always something new to learn.
Always.
So let's imagine that you're starting from scratch.
Okay.
What are the absolute must-have tools for a beginner bookbinder?
Let's imagine we're on a desert island.
Right.
And we have to bind a book. What are the tools that you absolutely can't live without? Well, Dennis from Four Keys Book Arts calls the sewing needle the heart of bookbinding.
Oh.
And it's true. It really is what takes those loose pages and transforms them into a cohesive book.
But why a sewing needle? I mean, why couldn't you just use any sharp object to punch holes?
You could.
Right.
But sewing needles, especially like in the medium sizes, like 14 to 18, offer a level of precision that's just really important for bookbinding. Plus, they're designed to work with thread, which is essential to create those strong, durable stitches that hold a book together.
Right. Thread is key.
Right.
What else would we need for our desert island bookbinding kit?
Well, I'd say a good utility knife is pretty essential.
Yeah.
It's not just for cutting paper either.
Right.
I mean, think about if you were really on a desert island.
Right.
You might need to cut leather. You might need to scoreboard.
Yeah.
It's a really versatile tool. And of course, those replaceable blades are really important.
Oh, yeah. A ruler would be essential too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, a steel ruler is indispensable
Right.
when it comes to measuring, marking, especially paired with that utility knife for precise cutting. And also, don't forget about trimming book edges.
Oh, of course.
A steel ruler makes sure that those edges are perfectly straight.
Yeah. So we're talking about precision a lot here. What about tools for shaping and smoothing? What do we have?
For that, you absolutely need a bone folder.
Okay.
Ariel's bindery really stresses how important it is for creating those crisp folds and those smooth finishes. It's like an extension of your hand and really allows you to work those paper fibers.
Now, I've heard that there's this tradition of oiling a bone folder with the oils from your face. Is there any truth to that?
It's a practice that's been passed down for generations.
Really?
The idea is that those natural oils condition the bone and keep it nice and smooth. It's a little bit quirky, but it really speaks to that intimate relationship between a bookbinder and their tools.
That's so interesting. So we've got our needle for sewing. We've got our utility knife for cutting, our ruler for measuring, our bone folder for shaping.
Yes.
What's the fifth essential tool for our desert island kit?
Well, for those times when you're working with thicker materials like leather, or when you need to punch through a lot of pages, you're going to need an awl. It's basically a heavy-duty version of the needle. It offers more strength and control.
That makes sense. It sounds like even just starting out, having that variety of tools can really make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about when you're ready to move beyond the basics? Are there other tools that beginner bookbinders should consider?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as you start exploring different techniques, you'll find that certain tools become essential. So for really detailed work, you might want a scalpel, which offers even greater precision than a utility knife.
Interesting. And scissors are just scissors, right?
Well, not exactly. Das Bookbinding suggests that there are certain things to look for when you're choosing scissors for bookbinding.
Like what?
Well, you want to make sure that you have a pair that's specifically designed for fabric or paper. These are going to have a much sharper, finer point than your average household scissors. And that helps to prevent snags and ensures a really nice, clean cut.
What else as we go beyond the basic five?
Well, a good paste brush is really essential for applying adhesives evenly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And iBookbinding actually points out that the stiffness of the bristles matters.
Okay.
You want something that's firm enough to spread the paste smoothly, but not so stiff that it leaves streaks.
Right, right.
So there's a bit of a balance there.
Sure. And Dad's bookbinding reminds us about all those simple tools that we often take for granted.
Absolutely.
Pencils, erasers, a sharpener.
Yeah, all those things for marking.
Yeah.
And even things like bulldog clips.
Oh, yeah.
And clothespins for holding pages together. Those are really the unsung heroes of the bindery.
I know, I use them all the time.
You know, they help you stay organized and efficient.
Yeah, it's amazing how even the simplest tools can play such a vital role.
Yeah, they really can.
So I'm excited to kind of shift gears here.
Okay.
And delve into the history of bookbinding equipment.
Okay.
Where should we start?
Well, let's talk about presses.
Okay.
We learned from iBookbinding and Peachy Conservation that there are all these different types of presses that have shaped the craft of bookbinding.
Yeah.
And the lying press, for example, has been a workhorse in binderies for centuries. I mean, we're talking going all the way back to the 16th century.
Wow. What makes the lying press so special?
Well, it's incredibly versatile. Bookbinders have used it for everything from sewing the different sections of a book together to gluing the cover boards to even applying headbands.
Oh, wow.
Which are those decorative touches at the top and bottom of the spine.
It's a multi-purpose tool.
Exactly.
What about the standing press?
Oh, the standing press. That one's all about power
Yeah.
and precision. It's used to flatten and compress the book
Okay.
after it's been bound to ensure a nice, smooth, even finish.
Oh.
And help remove any air pocket that could cause warping over time.
So that's why those old books always look so nice and compact.
That's right.
Well preserved.
Yes.
What other types of presses were used in historical binderies?
Well, for those more specialized tasks,
Okay.
there's the finishing press.
Okay.
And this press was all about the finer details.
Like what kind of details?
You're talking tooling, decorating, applying gold leaf.
Wow.
That kind of thing. It provided that control and the pressure that was needed for those more intricate techniques.
So each press really served its own unique purpose in the bookbinding process.
Absolutely.
Did the evolution of these presses lead to any major changes in bookbinding techniques?
Definitely. I mean, one great example is the job backer, which was a specialized press that became really popular in the 19th century.
What did it do?
It was designed specifically for shaping book spines.
Oh, so before the job backer, how did they shape spines?
They would have used hammers and other hand tools, which was a much more time-consuming and labor-intensive process.
Yeah.
So the job backer allowed for greater accuracy and speed.
That makes sense.
Really increased the efficiency.
Yeah, it sounds like the 19th century was a time of real innovation.
It really was.
For bookbinding. Speaking of innovation.
Okay.
What about cutting tools? How have those evolved over time?
Well, that's another fascinating area.
Okay.
Peachy Conservation and the American Bookbinders Museum talk about a few key tools in the evolution of cutting techniques.
And one of those is the board shear, which was another 19th century innovation for precise board cutting.
What made that so revolutionary? Was it just about speed?
It was about precision and consistency, which were really important for the rise of book cloth and standardized cases.
Right.
You see, before the board shear, cutting boards was a much more manual process.
I see.
And it often led to variations in size and shape.
Yeah, consistency is key.
It really is.
Especially when you're dealing with book cloth.
Yes, definitely.
What other notable cutting tools were there from that era?
Well, the plow is a classic tool that was used for centuries.
Really?
In conjunction with the lying press.
Interesting.
And it allowed bookbinders to achieve those smooth, even edges that we associate with traditional bookbinding.
Yeah.
That's a very skilled technique.
I bet. And then there's the guillotine.
Ah, yes, the guillotine.
Which must have been a game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was introduced in the 19th century.
And it was a real game changer in terms of speed and efficiency. I mean, it could cut through stacks of paper with ease. It dramatically increased production capacity.
Wow. It's incredible to think about how these innovations really changed things.
Yes.
Not just in terms of efficiency, but also in terms of book design and production.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just amazing to me. Are there any specific examples
Uh,
from the American Bookbinders Museum
yeah.
that you find particularly fascinating?
Well, the American Bookbinders Museum has a treasure trove
I bet it does.
of historical equipment.
Yeah.
But there are a few pieces that really stand out.
Okay.
And one of those is the Hickok pen ruling machine from 1901.
Oh, what was that used for?
Well, before this machine,
Yeah.
ruling lines on paper for ledgers and things like that was done entirely by hand.
Wow.
Talk about meticulous work.
Yeah.
Incredibly time-consuming.
Yeah, I bet.
So the Hickok pen rolling machine automated this process.
Oh, wow.
Much greater accuracy, consistency.
Right. Much faster.
What a lifesaver for whoever had to do that by hand.
I know, right?
Are there any other machines from that era that you find particularly impressive?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's the Singer book sewing machine from 1911.
Okay.
Now, this machine was purpose-built to sew through stacks of paper.
Really?
Really showcasing that move toward mechanization in bookbinding.
Oh, so this would have helped speed up production?
Absolutely.
And I guess make books more accessible to people?
Exactly. Faster production often means lower costs.
Yeah.
Which means that books can reach a wider audience.
That's right. Speaking of impressive machines, I read that the museum also has a massive embossing press.
Oh, yes. The Sanborn embossing press from 1884.
Okay.
It's a behemoth of a machine.
Really?
7 feet tall.
Wow.
It really is a testament to the power and artistry of bookbinding.
What was it used for?
Well, it used heat and pressure to create those really intricate designs
Wow.
that you see on older book covers. It's just incredible to think about all the craftsmanship and skill
It is.
that went into operating these historical machines.
It is.
Really makes you appreciate the artistry and dedication
Absolutely.
that went into each and every book. Or it's been an amazing journey.
It has.
Exploring the world of bookbinding tools, both old and new. What do you think are the key takeaways for our listeners today?
Well, I think whether you're fascinated by the history of bookbinding or you're just eager to start your own journey, understanding the tools is really essential.
Absolutely.
We've seen how tools have evolved over time.
Right.
You know, reflecting those changing needs and innovations within the craft.
Yeah. But it's really remarkable to me how many of those traditional tools and techniques are still so relevant today.
It's true.
Why do you think that is?
That's a good question.
Yeah?
Why do these traditional methods continue to thrive in our modern world?
Yeah.
What advantages do they offer? Well, maybe it's that connection to history, the tactile experience of working with your hands. Or maybe it's just that satisfaction of creating something beautiful and enduring, using time-honored techniques.
I think it's all of those things.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's really fascinating. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Into the world of bookbinding tools.
Yes.
We hope this has sparked your curiosity.
Yeah.
Maybe even inspired you to try your hand at this incredible craft.
I hope so.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Absolutely.
So share your reflections, your questions with us on social media.
Yes.
And let's keep this conversation about bookbinding going.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.